The world is bullish on Bitcoin. It's being adopted faster and more aggressively by governments, by banks, by corporations, by investors than nearly all of us thought a year ago, right? We were bullish a year ago. My base case is Bitcoin's going to grow 29% a year for the next 21 years. And that's going to cause it to appreciate to $13 million Bitcoin. I'm hearing now BBVA is supporting Bitcoin. I'm seeing the Secretary of the Treasury saying it's okay for banks to Bitcoin. We've seen the explosion of all these Bitcoin treasury companies. I didn't think they would go so fast. I didn't think Smarter Web would go from £4 million to £1 billion in 2 months. Let's give them a hand. That's amazing.
Bitcoin is at the center of a dramatic monetary revolution in early 2025. It is currently among the best performing assets in the world, easily surpassing global bonds, gold, and stocks after rising over 70% in the past year. Institutional portfolios, corporate treasuries, and national reserves are starting to change as a result of what was once written off as a fringe experiment. Even though Bitcoin's market value is getting closer to $2 trillion, it still only makes up a small portion of the $300 trillion global financial riches, but its allure is undeniable. Michael Saylor, the tenacious executive chairman of MicroStrategy, is at the heart of this change. Saylor bet his company's future on Bitcoin long before Wall Street cautiously embraced it, arguing that it was the best store of value in a time of perpetual money creation and growing national debt. Saylor reiterated his argument at the 2025 Bitcoin Global Summit in Singapore, stating that Bitcoin is expected to surpass $5 million per coin and take up at least 5% of global capital over the course of the next 15 years. If you're intrigued by bold predictions and deep financial insights, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more engaging content. Thank you for your support and enjoy the video.
And the engineering of generational wealth. For those of you who were in Nashville last July, I presented a few slides, and I want to take you back 11 months. So this was the status of the macro economy in July. Bitcoin was appreciating 55%. It was trouncing the NASDAQ and the S&P. Gold was a laggard. Silver was lame. Bonds were losers. Bitcoin was $1 trillion asset class. It was just less than 0.1% of the wealth in the world. But we could see that something was going to change. I presented a forecast in July, and I said, I really think my base case is Bitcoin's going to grow 29% a year for the next 21 years. And that's going to cause it to appreciate to $13 million Bitcoin. We had a macro forecast, and that meant that Bitcoin was growing to be 7% of all global assets. And it was growing to be its own asset class. And you can see here, $280 trillion. But the preeminent monetary asset in the world. So all of that was last July. Bitcoin was $65,000. What happened since? 11 months. Okay, this is extraordinary. I was, as Joe said, I was bullish last July. I've always been bullish, but when Bitcoin dipped to $16,000 during crypto winter, I was bullish. But stuff that's happened in the past 11 months has been extraordinary. The White House has embraced Bitcoin. This is an extraordinary development. We didn't anticipate this. We hoped that we would get a favorable administration, and we hope we get support, and we had this inkling, but November 5th brought a sea change in politics, and although we thought we might have a pro-Bitcoin president, we didn't think we'd get a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We didn't think that the president would say, America will be the Bitcoin superpower of the world. This is an amazing development. The new administration, J.D. Vance, pro-Bitcoin, Robert F. Kennedy, pro-Bitcoin, Tulsi Gabbard, pro-Bitcoin, Kelly Loeffler, pro-Bitcoin, Paul Atkins, pro-Bitcoin, Brian Kentez, pro-Bitcoin, Scott Bessent, pro-Bitcoin, David Sachs, a new position, cabinet-level position, not just pro-Bitcoin, a cabinet member that would go on television and say Bitcoin is the one decentralized crypto network in the world. It is special. It is the digital commodity, right? The one thing that we've all known, but a cabinet member in the United States government says it. He said it in March of this year. Howard Lutnick, pro-Bitcoin. Kash Patel, pro-Bitcoin. Every one of these cabinet members flipped from 12 months earlier, where there would have been no one that would have been as bullish on Bitcoin as what we saw here. Wall Street embraced Bitcoin. $150 billion of capital, 1.4 million Bitcoin. This entire dynamic started in January of last year, but it accelerated after July. Public companies. My company was the first public company to adopt Bitcoin. People thought we were crazy. I thought we were late. Like some of you, I kept thinking that I got it right in 2013. Like, why didn't I buy in 2013? In 2020, I thought I was late. But what happened next is the second company, the third, then 130. Then companies like Trump Media and GameStop in 21. And now companies are racing to get into the Bitcoin 100. Used to be, we thought, oh, it'd be great. There's 10 Bitcoin companies in 20. Now there's 100. Now there's more than 100. Now we're all going to compete to move up the leaderboard. Yeah, let the games begin. Bitcoin wasn't an institutional asset. It wasn't cool on Wall Street. People thought it might be toxic. Well, now I have a whole set of equity analysts that write research and publish their research to investors, and they put a price target on Bitcoin. So now you have the entire equity capital markets embracing the asset class, writing about it, opining on it. You know, we went from an oddity, tulip bulbs maybe going away, to an entire array of analysts and investment banks starting to have an opinion. And of course, if you look at all the prices up there, their opinion is all positive, it's all bullish. Technology investors have embraced Bitcoin. What you see there is the Bank of America investment analyst equating Bitcoin to something as profound as the light bulb, the Model T, the World Wide Web, right? That's a very important rotation. Bitcoin is a technology. Bitcoin's not a speculation. Bitcoin is not an oddity. Bitcoin is not anarchy. Bitcoin is just the next great technology.
Michael Saylor is expressing a profound change in the global perception of Bitcoin, not just excitement. Bitcoin has transformed from a peripheral asset to a key component of international financial markets and geopolitical tactics in less than a year. The numbers make this clear. Bitcoin ETFs, which many thought would never be approved, have now gathered over $200 billion in assets. Led by giants like BlackRock, countries are quietly building their own Bitcoin reserves. What was once dismissed as a conspiracy theory that Bitcoin could become part of national monetary policy is now becoming reality as the world deals with deglobalization and fragmented currencies. This momentum isn't merely temporary. A structural shift has occurred. Instead of questioning whether Bitcoin should be included in portfolios, Wall Street is now focusing on the optimal level of exposure. Institutional investors should now commit between 3 and 5% of their portfolios to Bitcoin. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications.
And so you see the explosion in Bitcoin treasury companies is because now that the world's recognized a digital commodity, they also recognize it beats the cost of equity. That means that every public company, in theory, should recapitalize on Bitcoin, because when they sell equity, they're actually generating profits. They're creating an accretive transaction for their shareholders, right? The world is waking up to this. You see that hence you see an explosion, in the shares of Metaplanet and Smarter Web and H100 and Blockchain Group, right? This is going to continue. These companies are going to catch fire everywhere in the world, in every capital market, for one simple reason. Investors can see that 56% is more than 13%. It's just that simple. And this is it's a very powerful dynamic. And yet Bitcoin is just 20 basis points of global wealth. So here's an interesting thing. We are now at an inflection point. We have all the information to know Bitcoin is winning, and yet the majority, 99.8% of the capital in the world, still pretends and acts like it isn't. Most is still oblivious. You know something the rest of the world has not yet acknowledged, and yet it couldn't be clearer to all of us in this room. There's a monetary revolution afoot, a revolution in economic thinking. It's spreading everywhere in the world. It's fueled by the digital transformation of the capital markets that you see manifested in all of these companies and all of these securities and all of this Bitcoin activity. And it's going to be accelerated by explosive financial innovation. That innovation is surging now. You can see it everywhere around us. Every single company is thinking, how do I integrate? What am I going to do? So the revolution is afoot. The world is bullish on Bitcoin. It's being adopted faster and more aggressively by governments, by banks, by corporations, by investors than nearly all of us thought a year ago, right? We were bullish a year ago, but certainly I'm hearing now BBVA is supporting Bitcoin. I'm seeing the Secretary of the Treasury saying it's okay for banks to Bitcoin. We've seen the explosion of all these Bitcoin treasury companies.
According to Michael Saylor, Bitcoin's price might reach more than $13 million per coin over the next 20 years if it grows at an average annual rate of 29%. This would make Bitcoin the most valuable currency in the world and around 7% of all assets worldwide. After 11 months, Saylor claims that the events that have transpired are remarkable. He remained optimistic when Bitcoin fell to $16,000 during the crypto winter, but he was surprised by how drastically things would change. He claims that the political shift was the largest surprise. The White House formally adopted Bitcoin following the most recent U.S. election. Saylor referred to this as an incredible turning point because the incoming government not only spoke favorably about Bitcoin, but also pledged to establish America as the Bitcoin superpower of the globe. At the same time, Wall Street took a different position. Institutions have invested more than $100 billion in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has started to appear on the balance sheets of public corporations, beginning with MicroStrategy and continuing with Trump Media, GameStop, and numerous more. Saylor noted how the story has evolved as a result of this alteration. On Wall Street, Bitcoin was formerly seen as dangerous, speculative, or even poisonous. Major investment banks and analysts now treat Bitcoin as a real asset class, publishing research reports with price estimates. He concluded by stressing that, like the light bulb or the internet, Bitcoin is today acknowledged as a groundbreaking technology as well as an investment. Bitcoin is the next major technical advancement and is no longer a strange or fringe movement. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.